Hello everybody, welcome to Season 4 of our Pokemon Draft League. I am Ian, former coach of the Mahogany Town Mews, now moved over to the Lake of Rage Ungodly Qwilfishes. I'll be commentating a match today between myself and Greg of the something or anothers, probably. I assume he has a team name of some sort, and I assume that you will know about it because of the title. But anyway, let's just get right into it, and I'll tell you my thought process as we go. So he does lead off with his Rotom Wash here, and I do lead off with my Coltrane baby, the Zeraora. Kind of expecting the Rotom Wash for a Volt Switch, and I'm hoping I can Volt Switch myself as it's just going to be neutral anyway. And I just go for the safe play, the Volt Switch here, as he does bring in his Clampazzo. I'm not really sure what that's supposed to be, but he does bring in the Gliscor here. And he gets his Toxic, which is good for him, and I wish I had gone for a knockoff, but I was just trying to play safe, get to learn Greg's style a bit again, after not playing him for a few months since the last season. So he's going to set up his Stealth Rocks, and that's totally fine by me. And he is going to set up a Toxic on the turn that he outspeeds me, which is also fine. I did build Pikumuku Kevin here specifically to counter Gliscor. So I'm just going to go for a Gastro Acid here, right off the bat, just nullify his ability and make him take the poison damage instead of healing from it, because Toxic Heal is BS. Double the HP recovery is leftovers for no reason. It's pretty neat. So he's going to bring out his shenanigans here, the Whimsicott, and I'm going to switch out, assuming that he's not going to want to take poison damage, expecting to heal from it. And I'm going to switch into my Roadhog, a previous pickup from the, Saffron City Sneasels, I think, last season. I do have a Scarf, and I'm just going to go for a Stealth Rock here, not really knowing if he was going to try to set up some defenses, or if he was just going to U-turn, or if he was going to try to attack directly. I could have gone for a Icicle Crash, but I did expect him to switch straight into the Rotom here. Hard switch, not a U-turn. So it ended up working out well for me right there. Got up my Stealth Rocks, and I do switch out into my Leviathan, the Superior, to take this Hydropomp. Doesn't take it as well as I would have expected, but it does take it, better than it could have. Superior isn't known for its high defensive stats, so it does take it pretty well, and I go for a Leaf Storm, not really considering that the Drampa might have Sap Sipper instead of the Berserk ability, which is a good play on Greg's end, and thinking that he might be Scarfed or might try to switch out now that he thinks I might switch, I do go for the Glare, which paralyzes the Falcor, which is a good name. And unfortunately, he is paralyzed on this turn, so I am able to go for the Dragon Pulse. That does bring him down, and he is paralyzed again on the second turn, which is super unfortunate. And I am able to go for a second Dragon Pulse, taking him out. This does leave me pretty low with my Life Orb recoil and the Hydro Pump damage, but I can take a few more Life Orb hits before I actually go down. So he was smart, and he brought in his Calamity, the Tyranitar, to set up the Sandstorm, so that even if I do stay in and somehow KO it 100, I'll probably go down to the Life Orb and Sandstorm damage. And knowing that, I'm just going to go for a Leaf Storm, go up to the +2, which doesn't matter, bring it down to about 50% HP, and go down to his Pursuit rather than to Sandstorm. So even if I had switched, I would have been going down. And it's a good play on his end, but I was pretty satisfied with what Superior did. So I'm going to bring out No Homo, the Komo-o, and he knows, as well as I do, that I can take it out with a Drain Punch from 100%, so he is going to switch into the Gliscor here. So once again, I was probably playing a little bit too safe in these early plays here, as I do just go for a Drain Punch, which is easily taken by the Gliscor. But Again, I didn't want any kind of shenanigans. I thought he might try to stay in, maybe be scarfed or something, I don't know, to hit me with like an ice fang. I don't know what he could have done, but I was just trying to not be shenanigized. So he does go for the Toxic, as I go for a few Dragon Claws, brings him down decently low, and I'm going to be poisoned with the Sandstorm, so that's going to start to rack up after a little bit. Not quite yet, but pretty soon. So he does heal again with the Poison Heal, brings him up to about half, and I'm going to go for a Dragon Claw again. I think it's doing about 30% maybe, as he does actually go for a Roost this time, because he wants to double down on the BS, and that's totally not good for me. So I'm going to take more Sandstorm damage and more Poison damage, and he's going to take more Poison Healing, brings him up to almost 100%. So I'm going to switch out, not wanting to take any more damage, and I'm just going to go right back into Kevin, thinking that maybe he's going to go for another Roost, or maybe he'll go for a Toxic, thinking he's going to switch into someone else. But he does just go straight for the Earthquake damage, and that is fine. I'm built 252 HP, 252 defense, bold nature, so it's not going to do that much, and especially with my leftovers, even the poison damage isn't going to bring me below half. That does bring him above 100%, or up to 100% though, which is annoying, but not too bad. So he does bring out his Rotom Wash here again, and I did expect him to just go for an attack or either switch, so I do go for the Recover. As I'm able to take advantage of that, I need to keep Pyukumuku close to 100% so that I can fully counter this Gliscor, knowing that it's going to be a long battle to take him down. Interestingly, he does go for the Trick, and he gives me a Choice Specs, which is interesting. Gets himself the leftovers, which is nice. Afterwards, I heard that this was supposed to be for Chansey, I believe. So that's pretty nice. I'm not totally crippled, as you might think. I really only need one move on Pyukumuku to have him do his job. But it is annoying. I won't be able to recover or constantly switch my moves in between his switches. So I'm going to go for the Toxic. Luckily, it doesn't make me keep my last move. And then I'm going to switch out into Coltrane Baby, who is going to absorb the Volt Switch I predicted. And that's going to bring him back up to 100% HP. I was concerned about a possible Will-O-Wisp coming at me, but at this point, I wasn't really worried that much about it. And he does switch out, going back into the Gliscor here, as once more, just playing very safely. Oh no, just kidding, that must be later. I do go for the knockoff here, hitting his Toxic Orb off, which is too little too late, but it does do some good damage, as I'm able to switch back out and go into Serial Killer. I was really hoping that he was going to go for a Toxic here, as Alakazam would not be affected by the Toxic. But I can take an Earthquake, so that's fine. And I am going to Mega Evolve, tracing the Pokemon he switches in, which is going to be the Tyranitar here. I wish that tracing Sandstream gave me immunity to Sandstream, but it's one of the only abilities that does not, which is very frustrating. But I am going to Mega Evolve, get my massive speed boost, and I am just going to go for an attack here. I just brought straight attacking moves. I don't have anything else like Recover or anything. But I'm going to go for a Hidden Power, expecting him to potentially stay in. And knowing that if he did switch, it wouldn't be a big deal not to hit the Hidden Power. So then, on the next turn, I go for the Focus Blast, taking out the Calamity as it does 8 times damage. So then he's going to switch in his Herdier here, which is going to be much faster in the sand. Not Herdier. What is her name? You know, Mustachio. That was you last year. Don't remember your real name right now. But that is going to take me out, which is fine. I couldn't really come back in anyway, and I do still have some answers for this. So I'm going to bring in my No Homo again, threaten it out with a focus or a Drain Punch, and he's going to bring back in his Gliscor. I didn't really have the option of predicting as he might have had Ice Fang to try and take out my Como. So I did have to just go for the Drain Punch to hopefully play it safe. But he does switch into the Gliscor here, which is him playing it safe. So we're right back to this matchup again, which is a really lame one. So I'm just going to go for a Dragon Claw. I know I've got to mix something up if I'm going to want to take this out and fix the battle up here. So I'm just going to go for Dragon Claws and see if I can maybe make some sort of change in the flow of the battle. Probably losing Como in the process, but I do still have counters for each of his team with what I have left. So it's not a terrible sacrifice. It is going to be a bit risky though, depending on the sets he has running. So I'm going to go for a Dragon Claw again, and then the Poison's going to actually take me out, which is good for my MVP stats, because he does not get the KO for that. Well, he doesn't get the direct KO for that, because he's going to get the Toxic KO. But then I'm going to bring out the Roadhog here, who is still Choice Scarfed, remember. And I'm just going to go for a straight Icicle Crash. I don't have Icicle Shard because I am Scarfed. And he's going to switch in his Rotom Wash here, who is going to take it well enough. It is probably, with the Toxic, going to be a 2-hit KO for Icicle Crash. But with the leftovers, it's still questionable, so I don't think I wanted to test that out, and I know I can come in later to finish that job, especially with the Stealth Rocks. So I'm going to switch in my Coltrane Baby to try to take a Hydro Pump here, and I do avoid it, luckily. I don't know the calcs for that. It might have taken me pretty low. I don't know if it would have taken me out, especially not knowing Greg's set. But I'm going to avoid it, luckily, and then I'm going to be able to switch out here straight into the Pyukumuku, knowing that if I have another free switch, I should have a way to take out the rest of his team. And he does switch into the Gliscor here, luckily, as I switch into Kevin on my double switch, predicting that. Also knowing that he wouldn't stay in on the Toxic damage. So I'm going to be about half health with my Toxic, and not wanting to be in here with my Gastro Acid, he is going to switch into the Whimsicott here. I think I predicted this. No, I didn't. I just went for a safer cover, assuming that he was just going to try to take me out. But he does switch and goes into Whimsicott as I go up to 100%. And this is where it's pretty much came down to the sets we were running, so there was really no way for either of us to know for sure how the battle was going to go, and it just came down to what kind of side strategies each of us had. So I switched back out into my Coltrane Baby, and I do get Leech Seeded from his Whimsicott, which is fine. I don't really have the best HP anyway, and it's not like I'm going to be running a very long gauntlet on the rest of his team here. But I'm just going to go for the Plasma Fists. It's very weebish, and might be the first time anybody here is seeing this, but doesn't do a whole lot of damage. I just wanted to use it for some chip damage before going down, but he actually does U-turn out into the Gliscor again, which is fine. I really just needed to die at this point to try and set up the rest of this late game cleanup. But now, with the Toxic Heal and the Leech Seed and the Roosts, he's just gonna go super hard on the HP here. I am banded, so I have to go for another Plasma Fist, but it's not like any of my other attacks would have done much damage anyway. And I am going to be taken out by an Earthquake, which is what I was hoping for a few turns now, actually. Once again, all the healing, he's gonna go up to 100 pretty much, and I'm going to switch into Roadhog here. Now, I pretty much can run Icicle Crash on the whole rest of his team to take out everything, unless he switches in the Rotom Wash here, goes down, and then gets a free switch into Whimsicott, which is exactly what happens. He does go into the Rotom Wash, he gets taken out by the Icicle Crash, and then he switches into the switches into the Constable here, Oh, I must have missed a turn. Nope, okay. I am way off on my turns here. So now I'm going to switch into Kevin, and now I can just sacrifice Kevin, not being able to take a superpower or take this thing out from 100%. I was hoping to just bring it down lower with some toxic damage, and hopefully take it out after that, being able to take a hit. But he is going to superpower, lower his stats, and then switch out into the Whimsicott here, which was the deciding play of the game, as it allows him, even though he is going to get Toxic Tier, to set up a Tailwind, which is the only way the rest of his team would be able to outspeed my Mamoswine and finally KO it. So yeah, it was a really good game, and we're basically just going to see him set up his Tailwind and then outspeed Mamoswine at the end. Yeah, basically the crux of what happened here was I planned for the harder hitting threats of Greg's team rather than the kind of sleeper combinations he had. Not that I didn't know he couldn't do the dog Herdier, but the next one with Sandstorm, but I just didn't really consider that he would do that over like Nihilego, Chandelure, what was the other threat? Roserade, things like that. So a lot of my team, specifically Komolo and Zeraora, were made for other threats on his team that didn't even show up, and therefore weren't really built for what he did actually bring. So yeah, it was a really good game. I wouldn't say it came down to like planning on either end, it's just I didn't really prep for what he had, so I couldn't really combat it as well as he could. But yeah, good game. He does go for the superpower here, takes out my Roadhog, and does win 6-4, just like, I guess, more than half of the games, which is pretty crazy. But that is the first in our 6 divisional games. I will play Greg again on the 14th week, as we're going to do 3 divisional games in the beginning and then 3 at the very end, kind of reverse snaking it almost. So I'll be playing Greg again next in the 14th week, and next week I will be playing Nick, the trainer of something again. I don't know anyone's team names anymore. I'm sorry, I will try to look at them before I record again. And then I will be facing Zach, and that's our 4 divisional players. So stay tuned for those. And then after that, we'll be getting into the regular season with the rest of our division mates, or, non-division mates. Anyway, thank you, and I will see you next time.